Please begin.
Jiten, sir, shall I start?
Yes, please.
Okay. Hello, good morning to all of you. I would like to welcome our today's speaker, Mr. Jamin Pandya, on behalf of Parul Polytechnic Institute, Parul University. He has an amazing experience as a PHP developer. He created more than 20 applications in PHP. Also, he is mastered with MySQL, jQuery, Bootstrap, etc. So, guys, without delay, we are starting our today's session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. My name is Jamin Pandya. So, I'm going to talk about web technologies, digital classic versus modern approach to web development. So, let me introduce myself first. So, I'm Jamin Pandya. So, currently, I work as a software developer at Umbra City Inc. It's in Vancouver, currently where I live. Before that, I was a lead developer, main PHP developer at Ops Insights. This company used to build a data analytics platform. So I was a lead developer in that, and it was in Colombia, USA. And I was working remotely from India for that company. And before that, I was a PHP developer at Swing IT Services, Ahmedabad. And I have a bachelor's of computer engineering. I did my bachelor's from GC Dahod. So my skills and expertise. So basically, I work in PHP, YII, and recently I've started working in Symfony, and I also do a little bit of WordPress. I have also experience in Express.js, which is a Node.js framework, or React.js, which is front-end framework, and the databases such as MySQL, MS SQL, Firebase, third-party APIs, jQuery, Bootstrap, HTML, CSS. So these are my skills. So to understand how web development works, so to understand that, one has to understand how the web works. So in the web, there is like www. So wherever you write like www.facebook.com, www.google.com, so it goes to www. So www is a software like web. World Wide Web is a software. What it does, that when you write something like a domain name or anything, so it will, based on that domain name, it will get IP address associated with that domain name, and from that IP address it will connect to a particular computer, which is a server, and send a request based on that address you have typed in your address bar for the in browser, and get data and show you your data in the browser. So like it's www is a software uh, which is behind all those things, like getting request, executed request, and showing you the request data. So there is also internet, like we access any website or anything through internet, and internet is not software or anything. Internet is just the wires connected to each and every computer on the web. So it is a physical cables like going through different continents. Like in Arctic, there are cables. In maybe every continent is connected by those physical cables. So there is another thing one has to understand is OSI layers. OSI layer is basically those seven OSI layer. One is physical, network, data link, transport. Another is application, session, and presentation. These are OSI layer. So how they communicate with each other. So whenever you send any request and you get response, those all seven layers works in getting those data. So like the wires connected underground, like through towers or anything, those physical layer. There is a network layer which connects every other device. There is transport, there is data link, and there is a browser. So browser, so you guys all know, like whenever you want to request something from the website or anything, you want to open a website, so you just use the browser to access that particular website. So how those websites work, like what does those websites have? So basically website has main three things: is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So HTML, so it is a graphical representation of those elements to view. So everything on website is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. CSS stands for cascading style sheet. HTML stands for hypertext markup language, and so HTML has different version. Right now, it is HTML5, which is running on all those devices, all those browsers. So H- HTML and CSS and JavaScript. So JavaScript is a programming language. So if you have to make any changes to HTML, so you have to learn dynamically. Then you have to use JavaScript, and then comes fonts and assets. So they are like whenever you you use different kind of fonts, those gets downloaded, and there are on the website you see images and videos, those comes in the request. So how it works: so whenever you send a request, so let me show you. So whenever you say www dot anything, so what will happen? So it will go. So here I can show you. So here you can see all these networks calls are made. All these networks call are made. So some of them are images. So some of them are XHR requests, which is stands for Ajax request. So there are some JS parts. So you will see those JS parts here. So it is JavaScript, which is called. There is also CSS. So it's all CSS, which is used to design those page. So like this button, so this button is also have some part of CSS. There is also JavaScript linked to it. So if you see this, so there is background color, border radius, color, font family, font size, everything attached to it. So like here if you see, we can change all those colors, and whatever color we want to use it, we can use it. Like so here you can see how one can change. So it is CSS stands for styling part of this. So one can style those elements based on this thing, and JavaScript can be used to manipulate things after once HTML and CSS is loaded. So this is basically websites, just a static website. So I assume that most of these guys viewing this lecture will be in computer stream, maybe want to be like get a job in this field. So how they can start learning these things? So basically they can start with the easiest things to learn. So these easiest things are HTML, CSS, Bootstrap is a CSS framework. We will talk about it. Material design is also CSS framework. We will also talk about it. And JavaScript. So JavaScript is not Java. It is just script used in web browsers. So let's talk about what is really websites. So there are static websites. One can create static websites. They do not do any operations or anything. But when you go to any website which has login, which has another functionality, different functionalities such as like Flipkart or anything where you can buy things or sell things or watch videos, anything. Those websites are called dynamic websites. So these are not just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. They do have some extra thing to those websites. So those websites have databases. Databases are for like whenever you go to any profile, like on facebook.com. So if you go to uh, person A profile, like facebook.com/profiles, maybe a person's name, like my name Jamin Pandya. If you go to another person's profile, just you change the address and you get another person's information. So those are called dynamic websites. So those dynamic websites is not just static pages. They require databases. Also, they require server-side languages. So server-side languages are those like when you request something from your browser. So one another computer will provide data to you, and that another computer is maybe running some language to request your query. Like when you say google.com and say hi, so they search for hi, and you will get response for that. So on the basis of those language, we'll decide what should they give you. Like on the when you request something, what should be they give you, so browser can show you things on your like browser. So those are used to program those like anything what should be served on for particular request. So for that programming side, you need server side languages. So we will talk about it later in detail. So another thing you have to understand, which is very important, is client server model, request response model. So what is client server model? So whenever you send some request, client is like any computer browser is a client. Any computer browser is a client, and the server is like anywhere there is a computer or which accepts that request and executes that request and generates the response to be sent to that client is called something called server in very simple language. So they have request response model. So you request something, on the basis of that request they prepare a response and they will send you a response. So that response will be in HTML, CSS, or in another language, and then there can be a JavaScript framework. But this is another thing, we will discuss it later. But this is request response model. So you request something and you get response for that thing, and that response is used to visualize in the HTML format, and you see something. So like basically, so let's say India. So when we say India, those requests are made. So here the requests are changed and whole requests are prepared, and on the basis of the request, so query, they will like give you a response and new response will be generated. So whenever you send a request, you will get a response. It is a very basic thing. So how those works, how those websites work. When a request is sent, what happens on server, that you get particular response. So when you search for India, you get India. When you search for another Africa, or when you search about any animal, or when you search about any movie, you will get response according to that movie. So how this work? So on that server there is a particular program has been done which accepts that request, and based on that they will serve you response, and that response will be visualized on your browser. So those server can have different applications, and those applications can be built in different languages. So there can be application in PHP, there can be application in Node.js, there can be application in Ruby, there can be application on Python, and there can be .NET. So another thing is like these all Python, Node.js, Ruby and PHP, they were open source from the beginning, but .NET wasn't open source from the beginning. But just recently they made it open source. So these are main open source language which we can also Java can be used, but for web development these language are mostly used. Also Java is used in a good way, but these are main languages which one if one has to learn they are easy, and if one has to build they are easy, they are cost effective, they are so choosing a language is a very important thing for it. So one has to think about many things like different aspects of choosing a language. So cost to run that language, cost to employ people who can code in that language, cost of performance, like how good performance it can be, how secure is it, the language is. So there are different things, different aspects of it for choosing a particular language. So we will see like main thing our classic and modern approach. So we will see like what was happening before and what is happening now. So how websites were built before and how these are built now. So classic, those were stateful websites. Though stateful websites are having session in those websites. So like server was recording, like when you send a request, when you log in into some website. So when you log in into the particular website, then on server side machine there is a state associated after you log in. There is state associated after you log in, whatever changes you made. So whenever you send any request, whenever you let's say Facebook, or like let's say Flipkart, or some Amazon or Flipkart. So whenever you go to if you have added something to cart, simple example of session. So whenever you have added something like to buy into a cart or your wish list, so when you go to click on cart or something, then they will get data from session for those like what you have added into cart and show you on the that thing. But in modern applications they use APIs, and there is stateless, and some things are stored on browser side, client side, because machines before 15 10 or 15 years ago, those were not that powerful to store those information. Servers were powerful to store those kind of information, but machines were not having like 2 GB RAM or like 1 GB RAM, maybe 4 GB RAM. But now machines are very powerful, like 4 GB, 8 gigs RAM, or like with SSD and everything, so they can use a huge amount of JavaScript and store those kind of data. So all those data can be stored in cookies or local storage, or some another storage, and then it can be uh, used to so send a request and get the data. So with local storage and cookie one can do that. So previously what was happening, so previously if you have to do something, so like you are building a website, and you need to add some functionality. So you need some jQuery or jQuery UI, maybe some another library. So there are different libraries available, maybe just Google Map library or another library. Then we used to download those libraries. But nowadays we do not need to download anything or do anything. We just need package managers. So package managers are CI like tools which can be used to download to your particular folder, and it can be used to download in particular location, and you can execute that particular library or like use that library. So also before those UI were made with server side languages. Like if you were working in PHP, then then you will have files with the .php extension. Maybe you may use some templates like Twig, or maybe some another template, but there will be use of PHP. So PHP will be maybe like from that template building HTML or PHP, like compiling those template and building those HTMLs. So in classic way we were using that like templates with the particular side language which was handling those templates. But in modern we use JavaScript. We use JavaScript framework. So those JavaScript framework will get response, maybe response in JSON, response in GraphQL or any other thing, JSON or XML, and those response will be displayed on website. Based on the response, operations will be done at in JavaScript framework, and those will be shown to like visualized in the browser. So in classic we were using jQuery, which was very useful at that time. But in modern we use native JavaScript or TypeScript or any other framework to build websites. So we used to deploy code manually. Like I have worked when I used to go to cPanel, which is a server panel of particular any server, and you have to log in into that, and you make zip of your code locally, then upload that zip to particular that cPanel, and you unzip it. You just make a backup of the code right now on the website and make a zip there as a backup code or old code, and you unzip the new code, and then serve to the browser, and it is live. But there you have to test it again, everything you have to test those things again, and there are very much chances that you break something, and you have to figure out what you have break in that code, and you have to like work on it. So those things are very disturbing and not very helpful to do. So right now what we have right now we have continuous integration and continuous deployment. So continuous integration is like so when you code and you fix something, or maybe you build a new website or something, what you will do, you will maybe use Git or something to push those changes to your Git repo. Then that Git repo can be used. That Git repo can have scripts which uses continuous integration and continuous deployment scripts, which are made in sh files or any files, sh files. Those will like create a server. They can taste things, and then they will make it live. So like in just like 5 minutes your change will be live on your website. Before you have to zip and unzip and take a backup of that code. And like right now servers like AWS and Kubernetes and everything, they allow backup, do backups, regular backups. You can like visit anything you can, even in Git version control system. If you think that your change has made any change you have made to a website has broken the system, you can just revert back to previous commit or previous master branch, and just like have whatever version was there. So you can go back to any version and make your website live if you have break on something. So in classic, like before, we have less dependence on version control. Like maybe we using SVN, or maybe we were using version control very less. Like I used to work in company, so they will be doing version control after like month, 3 months, or maybe for few important projects or something. At that time it was costly, but now it is free, and like one can use GitHub or Bitbucket or GitLab free. uh, right now what we use, like right now we use version control a lot, like every day for very very small things. If you have made any small changes, so now version control is used in a way like you have to make any changes, then you will make a commit and push your code, and once you finish then you can make that things live. If you are using particular workflow, like where there is a development branch, where there is a maybe branch for particular issue. So what happens right now, like when you push something, one can set up a GitHub or GitLab in a way that it will create same environment as a server on particular machine, and they can create from that image, they can create a particular behavior and install your app whatever at that position at time, and they can taste uh, what you have written. So you have to write those tests before doing this CI/CD thing. So one can do those testing, automated testing. So once those tests are passed, then it will be deployed to a server. So there was like manual testing, like one has to do manual testing, and like go through the pain of manual testing. Like if something is broken, then you have to fix it, and you will not able to know if there is a manual like if you are doing manual testing. Sorry. So if you are doing manual testing, then there are chances that you will not be able to know if something is break or something is working or something is not working. But if you have automated tests, so like for every situation, to create user, to logging, to maybe for any action on your website, you can like buy a product or sell a product, maybe whatever features of your website. For each features, for each small actions for that feature, you can make test, and you can test your script against those tests. um, and this can be done like very quickly, and once you have done all those things, so what happens that you do not have to give that much amount of time to manual testing. Yeah, manual testing still happens, but you do not have to provide that amount of time which was required before, and you will not have any accidental breaks in your code. So there won't be like anything wrong. There are less chances of finding any bugs on your deployed code. So one thing is, another thing in modern technology we use is containers. Maybe if you have heard of Dockers, Jenkins, there are software which provides these containers. So they are used to create same kind of environment on your machine, means on your development machine, as on the server. So what happens that like what used to happen before, so mostly user will be having like Windows or Mac, or there are very less chances that they will be having a Linux. Mostly in India we used to have Windows, so we used to code on Windows machine. Now we used to code on Windows machine. There are like PHP version, there are Apache version. So we used to on Windows, we may have a particular PHP version and then particular Apache version. Apache is a server, and on our live website, on live server, so server may be Linux, and the server's PHP version is different. Then server's PHP settings may be different. Server's Apache settings may be different. So what was happening that you are building on different machine, and you are deploying on different machine. So your local was different and your live was different. So you were getting different like code was working on your machine, but when you upload your code on live website or your live server, then it was not working. The same thing can be working on a local, but it is not working on live. So to solve that problem, there is a software called containers. So like mainly Docker. So what happens in Docker? So Docker is like if you know VirtualBox or Vagrant, so Docker is same kind of thing, so which creates an image, virtual image of that particular server you want. Like if your live server has CentOS, or live server has Ubuntu or Linux, some or Fedora, so you can have same OS of same version, you can have same Apache of same version, you can have same PHP with same settings on your local, and you can build your thing, and you can test it in your browser. So when you test on the same kind of environment, so those environments are same, and you have less chances of getting errors or getting bugs. So how modern has changed in a way that it is made development much easier for like anyone wants to start it, but it is also like made it little bit harder for newcomers to learn those things, because there are so many things to learn. So these were like classic to modern approach. So we are going to now discuss package managers. So what is package managers? So I talk about like we used to download particular sorry. So we used to download particular software or anything like so let's say if you have to do something, so jQuery, so it is just a JavaScript library. So I was just let me show. So before, what was happening, so you need a jQuery for your project. So what will you do? You will download that jQuery, and you will go to this kind of path, and you will have to save that in particular folder, and you will be able to use that jQuery in your project. But now what are how things have changed? So now there is a package managers. So package manager is basically CLI. So let me show you something. Okay. Okay. So this is Composer, which is a PHP package manager. So what Composer does, so there are, for different languages there are different package manager. So for PHP it is Composer, for Node.js it is npm, for Ruby on Rails it is Jan, and these websites are their package manager, so where you can check all the packages. So you can search for any packages like VI, then you will be able to get packages for VI Soft, VI 2. So it is the application VI Soft, VI PHP framework version 2. So let me go back to my slide. So these are packages. So how they work. So okay. So they work in command line interface. So whether you have a terminal like me, or whether you have command prompt if you have Windows, then they are useful to create something. So let me show you something. So this is htdocs folder. So you can go to particular folder in your like command prompt. You can use some commands, like we are in this folder, application man htdocs. So you also have to know those software like man XAMPP, which are server, Apache server, in your machine. So you have to also install those server before doing something like this. And after you install the server, then you can run any kind of code. So let me maybe check Symfony. Just okay. So here we will be able to create a simple Symfony app. So this is skeleton. So Symfony is smaller skeleton. So each these are called packages. So this is website for package manager PHP packages, the PHP package repository. So this website has all different packages for PHP. So if we see, here are all the packages are listed, all different packages, or one can search from it. So let me search Symfony skeleton. Okay. I show you very simple way to create a Symfony app. So I'm using Composer. So this is Composer, create project, Symfony, skeleton, blog. So it will create a simple Symfony project for me. So it will download all the files required to create a project and create a simple project in that htdocs folder, and this will be called blog. So it will download all the files of that coding. So now, before what one has to do, like let me show you from Wire. Maybe they are still providing bundle. So now I also moved to the Composer, totally to Composer. Otherwise, one were able to go to GitHub. Let me why to GitHub. So one also has to know this, like what is GitHub and what is version control. So here one can download that code, or one can like SSH or maybe use Git to get that code and run that code. So how it works? So it is installing different things. Symfony skeleton. So what we were looking at. So it installs Symfony skeleton. It installs Symfony Flags on all those things. So these all things, before one has to download. Maybe they were all available at one place, but one has to download. So here they also ask me like what I have to do with like go to project directory, create your code repository with git init command, download the Symfony CLI, install a development web server. So so I can also copy this. So I have to run a Symfony server on my machine. So I am installing Symfony web server in my machine. So it will be installed and I will be able to use it as it like. So let me check whether it is installed or not. So if you guys have any question, you can ask the mentor, and I will be able to provide answers for anything. Like if you have any answers, questions. So there is Symfony version is a command. So it will give me like which version of Symfony is it. So basically, what happens in packages that before one has to download that particular code and run that code and configure all those things, and then they can. But now they can just use this CLI and download whole the code and run it on the machine in just few minutes, and one will be able to show it. So let me open maybe. So these things are very like when you run those kind of software. So they create a server and everything. These are very like use RAM in of your machine. Like if you have 4 gigs RAM or like 8 gigs RAM, then I don't know. You will be able to install all those things like my IDE. It is a PHP Storm IDE and another server, but everything. So it will be very consuming your all of the power of your machine. So as we see Composer, there is also npm for Node.js. So their website is npmjs.com. So there you will be able to find packages for npm. There is another Jam for Ruby, so which has packages for Ruby. There is a PIP for Python. There is also Nugget for .NET, and there are like CSS and all other packages. You can found it on the Bower. Like you can use it for web. So if you need a jQuery, you need a Bootstrap, you need a material design or anything, you can use Bower. You can use also Yarn for JavaScript, like for React or another. So each programming language has its own CLI, so one can use those CLI for things. And there is another thing one has to know. It requires a lot of time. Okay. One another aspect of it, like when you make a request, so it will get you particular data, but from where those data is coming. So if you have something, like if you even save some page, like let me save some big page. Okay, let me save so I can show you. So so when I save this web page, I'm saving on desktop. So this page is saved. So this page is taking 34 bytes. Maybe when it will be saved, it will be, let me check. So it is 111 kilobytes. It is 111 kilobytes, and it also created a folder like the same from the same name, and it has all the files of that uh, page. So if we see all the info, then it will be like 709 kb, 709 kb. So this page is 111 and 709 kb. So if you like have all these things in static pages, then there will be every page. Like for if I click on this page, those pages change. So it is not easy to have all those pages somewhere and just call those pages. So for that, one needs to like have something which can like there can be data stored on some another thing, and from fetch data from that thing and show. So for that, like to show to to use a browser perfectly and to use show more data, so databases are required. So mainly there are two types of databases. So one is RDBMS, which is SQL, and another is NoSQL. So for RDBMS, there are MySQL, which is open source database. There is Microsoft MS SQL. There is Oracle. There is IBM DB2. There is Microsoft Access also. So these are different databases which are SQL databases. SQL stand for SQL or structured query language. So where you have to write like select all from this table and get data. You can use criteria in the where. You can use joins like those. All these tables store data into rows and columns, like columns used for particular like name or something. So if there is a table of user, so there will be id associated with, there is name associated, first name, last name. So it will be in the column which will be a field of those table. They will be having different uh, data type, like each field, like if you are storing integer, if you are storing string, if you are storing text, if you are storing description. So for everything, if you are storing files like image, then you may want to store like maybe string and store it somewhere, or maybe you can store it into database. Maybe storing into database is not that like good idea right now, but you can store it in different ways. So those will be having rows like for each user, like user one name is Jamin. So for user one, there will be, for all those fields there will be particular value for user one. When you go to user two, for those all those record, there will be different value for those records. So it is like a table uh, having columns and rows, and those tables are linked between with the relationship. Like user can have like one address can be shared by multiple user. So you will be able to so you will learn those things like normalization, first type, second type, third type normalization, and BCNF. All those things you will learn maybe like I had in second semester, not second, fourth or third semester of my computer engineering. But you will be you will learn all those things maybe in future, or you already have learned those things, normalization and creating databases. So those were SQL databases. There is another kind of databases which are NoSQL databases. So they do not store data into tables. They do not have uh, like relationships. They use another way to have a relationship. So there are Firebase, MongoDB, Redis, Amazon DynamoDB, and Voldemort. Maybe you are, if you are Harry Potter fan, so Voldemort is used by LinkedIn to like store their data. Like Firebase is a product from Google, um, Redis, which is open source, and MongoDB, which is also open source. So, how Firebase stores key and documents, like key and document, like every key has a document which links to particular document, and then collection, and that collection, every key has that collection, and collection may have another collection inside it. So Firebase works in that way. There is a Redis DB, so which has a key value pair. Like for key, there will be a value, maybe a string or something. So it is a maybe 2D array of key and value pair in Redis. So where you can store value in maybe JSON, or maybe you can store um, serialize that particular string and you can store. If it is a very long string, then you can serialize or unserialize that string and store for that particular value. So okay, let me show you the app created by that thing. Open. So so the whole project, this whole project, I did not did anything. This whole project was created by this script: composer, create project, symphony skeleton, blog. So what they did, right now I'm in htdocs folder. So what composer did, composer used this uh, argument create project and use this symphony skeleton. So symphony skeleton, what is symphony skeleton? So if we go to packages, then we will find symphony skeleton. What is symphony skeleton? So if you go to this is package, so this is a package page where it shows what is this package. So this is package description: a minimal symphony project recommended to create bare bones application. So here it shows all the requirements and everything for that particular package. And if you want to see source code of that thing, so here it is source code of that project, uh, Symphony Skeleton. So it just has a composer JSON. So it will download this composer JSON and run this composer JSON. So which requires PHP, Symfony Flex, and then Flex require. So it will ask to execute that composer JSON, and that composer JSON will download another packages required for that particular symphony skeleton and build a project on that thing. So here on the basis of that, this project will be created. So it created console, all these files are created based on that particular project. It also created a controller where symphony. So if I have to use symphony, then they said, let me check. Okay, my Symfony CLI is installed. Use it as a local file user. Symfony. Okay, flag provided, not defined. Okay. So here it will be command. So here we also can see what command is there. So here we can just, I can do just serve. You can see here is command serve, run a local web server. So it will create a local web server for this project. So I can go to this server, and yeah, this has created a simple web page for me, like welcome to Symfony 5.1.5 documentation tutorials, create your first page. So here I can go to and see how one can create a page. Like they list all these things for what I can do. So let me discuss another thing. So there are also server side frameworks. So these server side frameworks are for PHP, Laravel, Symfony, Falcon, Vi, Zend, CodeIgniter. So what I build from Composer, it is this Symfony's simple skeleton app. It is built in Symfony, and these are server side frameworks, which are mostly MVC frameworks. These are called MVC frameworks, like model view controller. This is Node.js framework like Express.js and Happy.js, Socket.io. They are Node.js framework. Python, there is like Django, Flask, Web2Py, Python, Ruby on Rails, and Syntara. So there are JavaScript framework. So server side frameworks, what they do? Server side frameworks like they run on server, and they are application like when you send a request on the base of request, what one has to do. So when you send okay, so if I go to GitHub, Jamin moves like this request. So what happens when I go to send this request? So what will happen in server? There will be a server side application which can be running any of this technology, maybe other technology than this, and execute that request and create a response for you. So there can be any kind of this kind of application which will handle that request. So there are many MVC frameworks for PHP, like that is Laravel, Symfony, Falcon, Via, Zend, Codeigniter. For Node.js, there is for Python also. So those handles those requests. So before they will be able, they were also giving HTML and everything, but in modern way there are JavaScript frameworks. So what JavaScript framework does? So JavaScript framework handles all of the experience on the client side, like browser, and they will request data only to get in particular like JSON or XML. They will get that data, and on the basis of that data, they will maybe move to particular route, or they maybe like show their data. So show something on the website on the basis of that data. So there is a React, which is very famous, and maybe like right now there are only React and Vue. Angular is bit, or there are new version of Angular, but still React and Vue are by far the like they are very very used right now. And there is Ember, there is Meteor. So these JavaScript frameworks are very helpful right now, and used everywhere on every each and every website. If you see, if you have, there is a good website like maybe if we go to maybe Paytm was using Node, not Node. Paytm was using sorry Angular JS. If we see there is Angie, then it is Angular. So Paytm was using Angular. If I see if their HTML has maybe this is for Canada, they have done that, but if paytm.com, they will still make me go to Canada app. Yeah. So so they different websites, like different websites are using different JavaScript frameworks. Like React is used at many places. If we go to React, then we can be able to see like what is built with React. So react.org maybe. Yes, react.org. So if we go to React, then we will be able to see that who are using React. So if we community, let me go to community page maybe. React is used also. React is Facebook supports React, so Facebook has built React. Right now it is open source, but Facebook is using React. So if we go to Angular, so Angular is from Facebook, Google. So Angular is I don't know. Google is not saying that they are using Angular directly on each platform, but they may be using it in some of their apps. But Facebook is actively using React for all those kind of their apps. So they provide way to create mobile apps also, and also the tablet and desktop apps. Also, React has a React Native, which can be used to create mobile apps. So there is also content management system, which is like a PHP thing. So if one is not into coding, then one can go to into building content management system. So which is like WordPress, Joomla, Drupal, Magento. So they are easy to learn some way, and also they are useful to build very small applications and very fast. Like one can build applications from ready to use code and have like gallery and all those things very easily in just like few minutes. They are also ready to use. So what things one can learn? So also, like I have not discussed many things because like software development is really very big thing. There are like thousand things to learn, but if you learn just four or five things, and you just like get a good grasp on those things, then you will be able to like have a job in this field, and you will be able to like create web apps or work as a, maybe like you can do anything in the web field. Then like a version control, there is another thing called progressive web apps. So progressive web apps is another concept where I don't know, the new Facebook and new Twitter app, if one has seen new Twitter app, then if how it is, then they are progressive web apps. So like they have built in a way that one they give you a mobile experience, and also how they are built. So they use white space and everything in a way that loads data in a faster and makes user experience in a way that you feel like that you are doing using native mobile app. So they have different kind of animation on things like that that makes your experience good for you. So this one app, also the Facebook app, the new Facebook app is also a very good progressive web app. I don't know whether you are seeing some things like this. Maybe they they do A/B testing, which like for some user interface is different, and for some user interface is different. So my interface may be different from you. So there are many things to learn in web development. Hello, you can ask questions. Sorry. Hello. Hello. Can you listen me?
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Some of the students ask the question like if like they are in diploma, so they are making projects in PHP and Java and .NET, so like that. They have asked one question that if they are using a database like Firebase or Relay, so is that okay with this? They can use.
Okay, for every database, like if one is using Firebase, so for Firebase to be used in PHP or like any other language, they have API for Firebase. So let me show you how they have API. So let me close this thing. Okay, let me just Firebase. So if you go to Firebase website, then they will give you like how one can integrate Firebase into their project. So let me go to get started. So they will tell me to install something of that Firebase, add a project, or like they are creating. Okay, so here they are saying like how you can use Firebase projects containers for your apps, like how you can use in Android, how you can in iOS, and how you can use it in. Uh, so for maybe web to use Firebase, they will be able to use it with JavaScript. They will be able to use it with Android, or they will be able to use it with the iOS. So
Okay.
there
So
are like how you can use it, like how their features are friendly with particular language. Like here, this particular product is friendly with. So there will be APIs for everything. So like let me talk about like so each API has a different SDK. It is called software development kit. Software development kit for
yes.
particular. So if you are using any thing like Firebase, then there will be SDK for particular different languages. So how you can access that functionality of that library into your project. So like let me give you example of authorized.net. So
Okay.
authorized.net, yeah.
So that means they can use this thing also for their project, and it is better than SQLite and all that.
Yes. Uh, if they are building something in JavaScript, or they will be easily able to use it. Like in Firebase, like here, just one has to go through these things, and they have to just add a project. Then they can create a project like simple project,
Hmm.
and they will be able to like continue with that, and that project will be created, and they will be able to like default account create project, and once that project is created, they will give you a credential for that, like secret key and Google API key, and you have to
Okay.
use those key, and one will be able to like use that Firebase in their project.
Okay. Okay. And what is the no SQL thing?
Firebase is no SQL thing.
Yeah.
So
Acha. Okay. So
SQL
some
SQL is
students.
SQL is structured query language, and which
Yes.
is like for MySQL, MS SQL, Oracle, everything, they have table-based database. So like they have rows and columns. So let me show you something. If I have something here, no. So if we go to anywhere, MySQL. So yeah, so yeah, it is. Okay, let me show you something from open recent node. Okay, this window. So let me show you what is MySQL. So
Hmm.
this is basically table based MySQL, and what NoSQL is. So they are not in table way. So
Okay.
how they have, like if I go to any project, so they will have a collections. So here we can see like we can use it Firebase in your app. Like here it will show like what you can use it. So I maybe have to create a app maybe here, or they will be able to just test. So yeah, they will have a Firebase SDK. Next,
Hmm.
I have to add those JS into my project, and I will be able to use I will be able to use Firebase tools. And once I will do this, I will be able to deploy my hosting and everything. So let me go to my app. So this is my test app. Okay, real-time database. So there are also two things: Cloud Firestore and real-time database. I think Cloud Firestore is the new one, and the real-time database is old one. So
Hmm.
create simple database, simple next. Okay, so they are creating a database for me. So let me show you a simple SQL database. So for SQL, so you will be able to see these APIs. You will be able to let me show something. Okay, this one will be also helpful. So in RDBMS, classical RDBMS, I think I have to start MySQL also. Let me start new window. So I started MySQL server on my machine, and um, okay, okay. So these are tables. This is basically RDS, RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. So they have tables, and these are fields. If I go to DDL, so this is table and field of this table, and this is data stored in that table. Uh, but when it is NoSQL, so what NoSQL has? NoSQL has this kind of structure. So this is a JSON file which is key value pair. So in NoSQL, there will be a key, and on the basis of key, there will be a value. So key and value. So if this is not a row column situation. This is not a table. This is key, and key has some value. So if we go to here on Firebase, we can create a collection. So which is like a start a collection. So where we have like collection, just a users collection. We create a users collection. So there will be first maybe just a name, and there will be value, Jamie, and yeah, we should be able to auto ID. Okay, save. So it will create a collection for it. So it created a so collection and document. So it has created a users collection. There is a key. So N27 it is a key, and there is a value. So in user I can add another document, auto generate name, and value will be like maybe someone else name, like something else. So name. Then you can also create another name of another field, another. So here you stored data for two collection users, like here name another. So how the data is stored here? So there is a collection. Collection has many documents. Like each document has also value, and each document have another collection. Like here, collection is like addresses. So they can create a new collection and have city or something like that, auto generate and made maybe save. So here you can see that that collection, user Jamin collection, has another collection address and which. So how this data is stored here? You can see like here data will be stored in a collection which has documents, and each
Hmm.
document has fields, and each document can have multiple collection. So one has to be very cautious about how they create those structure, and because it
Yes.
can be very it can make your app efficient or not efficient based on the collections you create. So here, if we see, let me show you users table. So here, if you see user, then user will have first name, last name, everything. It is in a table format. So it is SQL, where you have to query on the basis of select select all from user or something like that. But I would say like using new technologies and everything will make things simpler and easy to make than like using outdated things. Like I know MySQLite was used in apps, but it is now better to use these kind of features. Like they are also free. Some of them are free for some time, or maybe for a year, or maybe on the basis of usage it is free. So one can learn it while they are doing college project. Is
Yes.
there any
Okay.
other projects like sorry questions?
Uh, n- uh, if I will receive more questions, then I will send you and will ask you through mail. So if we are, as we are having shortage of time, so
Okay, no problem, no
uh,
problem.
yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Fine. So that's all from my side. The questions, if I received, then I will mail you, and
Okay.
they have your contact number too and your mail
Yeah,
ID.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
So this is
so
my contact info. If anyone want to take up like picture or
yeah,
something. So this is like my email address, jaiminmojlak7020@gmail.com. This is my LinkedIn. Like one has to search. They can like use
yes.
this link, and also my GitHub address.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Jaimin sir, as for giving your time and sharing your valuable knowledge, because students get to know very new words and new technologies like YII and Laravel and all that. So they will get, definitely they will get interest in that technologies. So it is a very nice session and nicely explained by you with practical. So thank you so much from my side as well as from computer department and Parul University. Thank you so much.
I also enjoyed as well.
Yeah.
So no worries. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So Jiten sir. Jiten sir.
Yeah, Mr.
Hello. Jiten sir.
Is it over?
Yeah, it is over. So we can stop now.
So